It's been a near decade since The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess originally released on the Wii and GameCube. As one of the last remaining 3D Zelda games that hasn't been remade for a newer generation of gamers, it's about time it gets a facelift. So, to fall in line with the series' 30th anniversary, here we are now with the dark and gritty Twilight Princess HD on Wii U. This remake takes many cues from 2013's Wind Waker HD when it comes to the updating process, which includes improved visuals, new gameplay features, and tweaks to certain elements that were already present in the original game but weren't taken kindly to initially. So if you've already taken Wind Waker HD for a spin, then you should probably have a good idea of what to expect going into the HD remake of Twilight Princess. In terms of its story, nothing has changed, as you would expect. You're still playing as the one and only Link, and with the help of a mischievous little creature known as Midna, you'll be trying to stop a corrupted parallel dimension known as the Twilight Realm from engulfing Hyrule with its darkness. The dungeons, which are always the highlight of Zelda games, still hold up well today, with perplexing puzzles and unique locales, like a dungeon taking place entirely in a mansion owned by Yetis. How cool is that? Not everything has made a smooth transition, however, since the water dungeon is a pain in the tushy with its swimming. Making underwater exploration enjoyable in a video game is a tricky nut to crack, and unfortunately it's still not all that great in Twilight Princess HD, what with the slow progression and sometimes cumbersome controls. On another note, walking around with iron boots on while attached to magnets in the fire dungeon is like watching paint dry. It's painfully slow. But when you look past those nitpicks, the dungeons are altogether really well done, with items introduced to the series that are unlike anything we've seen before. Even if it's not used extensively throughout the game, that spinny top is still balls to the wall cool. Twilight Princess does not skimp on its number of dungeons either, so if there's a particular temple you're not a fan of, there's numerous others to help fill that void. Now, just like in Wind Waker HD, Ocarina of Time 3D, and Majora's Mask 3D, the use of the second screen is a godsend in Twilight Princess HD, with a host of nifty features. Having your inventory screen always open on the gamepad, where you can switch items quickly by touching and dragging them to the desired button, streamlines the gameplay considerably. Also, having a map on the gamepad with more detailed information than the minimap on screen is another blessing, eliminating the need for you to pause the game to open up the menu like you originally had to. And if that wasn't enough, there's also now a designated button to instantaneously switch between Wolf Link and Human Link without having to ask Midna a bajillion times. And to help aim more precisely, like in the other remakes, gyroscopic controls were added. While they can act up at times, using the gyroscope with items like the bow and arrow definitely do help make aiming for those small targets much easier, especially when used in conjunction with the control stick. And speaking of controls, they're certainly starting to feel their age, as they don't always respond the way you would hope them to. Sometimes I would try to move Link a certain way and he would move in a totally different direction, especially when climbing up vines. The lock-on mechanic, horseback riding, and trying to make specific jumps can also get pretty finicky at times. I had a fair share of dates with a wall while on horseback, and other times I found myself having to redo jumps multiple times because of wonky controls. One of the more tedious objectives in the original Twilight Princess was the Poe hunting, and this time the search for those devious specters is easier than ever before, since the map on the gamepad now tells you how many ghosts are left in each area. Thus, you won't be rolling around for hours on end, oblivious to the fact that there's actually no Poes left in that specific area you're in. It's a simple tweak, but an important one nonetheless. If that wasn't enough, there's also a new item introduced called the Ghost Lantern that lights up whenever you're near a Poe, thus helping narrow down their locale so you're not looking under every rock. Is it as much of a game changer as the Swift Sail was in Wind Waker HD? Well, no, because the Poe hunting is a side quest and not a crucial part of the gameplay like sailing was to Wind Waker. Nevertheless, the collectathon process has been improved, and that's all that matters. Twilight Princess HD also comes bundled with a fancy-looking Wolf Link amiibo. Along with storing save data that will be used in the upcoming Zelda Wii U, it can also be used to quick start your save file right from the title screen, or allow you to test your Wolf Link battle skills in a new area called the Cave of Shadows. It's essentially the Cave of Ordeals, but rather than taking on challenge after challenge in human form, you'll take on challenge after challenge in wolf form. It's nothing terribly exciting, as it's not like a brand new dungeon with puzzles to solve, but it's a nice little time waster that gives the amiibo some actual use. The sculpt of the Wolf Link amiibo is pretty darn stellar, making it a slick little showpiece nonetheless. Now, hands down, the biggest change to Twilight Princess HD is its presentation, and it honestly looks better than I expected it to, mixed in with its moody soundtrack. When the game first got announced, I was pretty sour because it seemed almost identical to the original game, just with added clarity. But once I put the game to the test, I clearly saw the improvements. While everything still has a low poly count and runs at 30 frames per second, textures have been redone, making the environments, clothing, and other assets pop more, so a lot of the muddiness has been wiped away. And of course, the game now runs at a native 1080p resolution, allowing for a sharper image and more screen real estate, which is fantastic. The overworld does still feel like a desolate wasteland void of life, but the overall aesthetics of the game have seen a nice bump in quality. It's not a drastic change like the Final Fantasy VII remake, which would have been amazeballs, but we've got the upcoming Zelda Wii U to take care of that. I do have to say that while there wasn't a whole lot of frame rate stuttering during my playtime, I encountered quite a bit of slowdown at the very end of the game in the last dungeon, which I'm guessing had to do with the weather effects. Overall, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD is a pretty safe remake to celebrate the series' 30th anniversary, with its improved visuals, some new and very useful gameplay elements like the gamepad usage, and a few modifications. I can't say that I would recommend this game to everyone, since I don't really feel it adds so much to the experience that it's worth purchasing again. If you haven't played the original Twilight Princess, however, then I'd say go for it, because this HD remake is certainly the definitive version. But if you're just too big of a Zelda fan where you can't resist double dipping, well, at least you can play the game on hero mode right from the get-go to give yourself an extra challenge and make the experience feel distinct. I'm in no way saying Twilight Princess HD is a bad game, it's just that it's a remake and I have to take that into account when recommending it to people. So, in all, I found The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD to be a good game. And that will bring us to the end of this review, and if you liked what you saw, please give this video a thumbs up, add it to your favorites, and all that good stuff. But I will talk to you later in the next video, guys. Bye!